You think you need better questions. You think if you could just find the right thing to ask, the right way to open a conversation, the right clever line to keep her engaged, she'd finally be interested. But here's the truth nobody's going to tell you while trying to sell you a course. Questions are killing your chances, and the men who understand women the deepest barely ask anything at all. Stay with me, because what I'm about to walk you through isn't a trick. It isn't a manipulation tactic. It isn't some pickup artist framework dressed up in polished language. This is psychology. This is human nature. This is the thing that's been operating underneath every single interaction you've ever had with a woman, whether you were aware of it or not. And the fact that you weren't aware of it, that's the problem. Not you, not your looks, not your height, not whatever excuse you've been carrying around like it's your identity. The problem is awareness, and awareness can be fixed. So if this kind of clarity is what you need, and clearly it is because you're here, go ahead and subscribe. Not for me, for yourself. Because the information I put out is designed to cut through the noise and give you the truth about how this stuff actually works. You're going to need reminders. You're going to have days where you slip back into the old patterns. Come back here when that happens. The subscription is just your bookmark to the version of yourself you're building right now. Now let's get into it. Here's the thesis, and I want you to hold it in your mind the entire time. Women are not responding to your words. They are responding to the energy behind your words. And the reason questions are so dangerous, the reason they so consistently destroy attraction instead of building it, is because questions used the way most men use them communicate need. They communicate that you are waiting for her to supply something you don't have. They communicate that without her answer, you are incomplete. And incompleteness is not attractive. It is not attractive to anyone, anywhere, in any context. But it is especially unforgiving when you are trying to build attraction with a woman. Let's walk through the whole architecture of this thing, because surface-level advice is what got you here. The misconception first. Most men believe that conversation is about exchange. You ask something, she answers. She asks something, you answer. And through that mutual exchange you build connection. That sounds logical. That sounds fair. That sounds like what healthy communication should look like. And in an established relationship with deep mutual trust, there's truth to that framework. But in the context of early attraction, in those first conversations, those first impressions, those critical early moments where the entire trajectory of how she perceives you is being decided, that framework is a trap. Because what most men do when they lean on questions is they unconsciously outsource the entire emotional experience of the interaction to her. You are essentially handing her the wheel and saying, wherever you want to take this, I'll follow. And then you wonder why she doesn't feel led. Here's the hard truth. Women, in the context of early attraction, are not looking for a conversation partner. They are looking for an experience. They are looking for someone who makes them feel something, not someone who extracts information from them with a series of interview-style questions. Think about the last time you asked a woman, "Where are you from?" and the conversation died 30 seconds later. Think about the last time you asked, "What do you do for work?" and it felt like a job application. Think about the last time you texted, "How was your day?" and got a one-word answer. Those weren't failures of luck. Those weren't failures of circumstance. Those were failures of understanding. You were asking for data when what she needed was to feel the electricity of someone who already had something to offer. Why does this happen? What is the root cause? The root cause is that most men have been trained by movies, by well-meaning people who don't actually understand attraction, by a culture that confuses politeness with magnetism, to be passive in conversation, to ask rather than offer, to wait rather than lead. And the reason this feels safe is because asking feels humble. Asking feels like you're not imposing. Asking feels like you're respecting her autonomy. But here's what no one tells you. There is a profound difference between respecting someone and deferring to them. Respect says, "I value who you are." Deference says, "I need your permission to exist in this space." And women can feel the difference instantly. Not consciously, necessarily. Not in a way she can articulate over coffee, but in her gut, in her nervous system, in that immediate visceral response that determines whether she leans in or starts looking for an exit. The excessive question asker has a particular energy. You've felt it in reverse. Think about someone who's ever relentlessly questioned you, not out of genuine curiosity, but out of nervous energy, trying to fill silence, trying to keep you engaged, trying to extract enough from you that you won't leave. There's a desperation underneath it, a low-grade anxiety, and you felt it even if you couldn't name it. That is exactly what she feels when you run through your mental checklist of conversation filler questions. She feels the anxiety, she feels the effort, she feels the need, and need. When it comes from a place of insecurity, is repellent. That's not harsh, that's just biology. What does it cost you? It costs you everything that matters in those moments. It costs you the perception of strength. It costs you the perception of a man who has his own internal world, his own perspective, his own presence, that doesn't require her validation to remain stable. Every time you ask a question you don't actually care about the answer to, just to keep her talking, just to fill the silence, just to avoid the terrifying possibility that she might lose interest. You are communicating without a single explicit word that your sense of value is contingent on her continued engagement. And she knows it. She may not be able to tell you that at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday, but she knows it. That's called validation seeking, and it is the single most consistent attraction killer in male-female dynamics. Now let's flip this. Let's talk about the reframe. The reframe isn't stop talking. The reframe isn't be cold, or be dismissive, or perform some artificial aloofness that's just insecurity dressed in a trench coat. That's not the answer either. Men who've tried that know exactly what I mean. They overcorrected into stonewalling and called it confidence, and it didn't work because she could see through it just as fast. Authenticity cannot be faked. Energy cannot be manufactured. She knows the difference between a man who doesn't need her approval and a man who's pretending he doesn't need it while dying inside. The real reframe is this. Instead of asking, offer. Instead of extracting, contribute. Instead of waiting to see what she gives you, step forward with something of your own. Your observations, your statements, your interpretations, your perspective on the moment you're both inside of together. Not as performance, not as technique, but as the natural expression of a man who is fully present, fully himself, and fully unbothered by whether this particular interaction goes the way he wants it to. That's the energy. Let me show you what it looks like in practice. Instead of where are you from, you say, you seem like someone who moved here from somewhere else. You've got that energy of someone who chose this city, not just ended up in it. Now she has to respond to you. Now she has to engage with your perception of her. Now she is in the position of reacting to your reality, instead of you waiting in hers. Instead of what do, you say I can already tell you're the kind of person who either loves what you do, or is aggressively planning your escape from it. Which one is it? You've given her a binary. You've made it playful. You've demonstrated that you have a read on people, that you pay attention, that you're not just running through a script. And even if your read is wrong, especially if your read is wrong, the conversation becomes interesting because now she has something to push back against. And pushing back at someone is intimacy. Friction, when it's playful, is connection. Instead of how was your day, you say tell me something that actually happened today, not the summary version. You've expressed a preference. You've made a demand, lightly, confidently. You've communicated that you want the real version of her, not the social performance. And women are so starved for men who want the real version of them, that this alone can shift an entire dynamic. Do you see the pattern? In every case, you are leading. You are offering a frame. You are stepping into the interaction with presence, rather than waiting at the door, hoping she lets you in. You are being the source of the experience, rather than the audience for hers. And that energy, the energy of a man who is the source, is the most fundamentally attractive thing you can bring to any interaction. Not your abs, not your car, not your job title. Those things might get a second look, but presence gets a second conversation. Presence gets a phone number. Presence is what she talks about to her friends when they ask what he was like. Now let me describe a man to you. I want you to see him clearly. Not because he's perfect, not because he doesn't have struggles or insecurities or days where things don't go the way he planned, but because he understands something that most men are still fighting to grasp, and it shows in every room he walks into. This man doesn't arrive at a conversation looking for something. He arrives bringing something. He walks into a room and his attention is genuine, not strategic, not performed, not engineered to maximize outcomes, but genuinely present, because he's actually interested in the world around him. He's curious. He has opinions. He has things he cares about that have nothing to do with whether a particular woman approves of them. He has a direction, not necessarily a destination. Life is too dynamic for rigid destinations, but a direction, a North Star, something he's building, something he's moving toward, something that would exist whether or not anyone was watching. When he talks to a woman, he talks to her the way he'd talk to anyone he finds genuinely interesting. He makes observations, he challenges ideas gently, he laughs easily, but doesn't perform laughter. He's comfortable in silence, because silence doesn't mean failure to him. Silence is just two people being present together, and he's secure enough in himself to let that happen without filling it with noise. He doesn't chase approval with his words. He doesn't adjust his opinions based on her facial expressions. He doesn't soften his perspective to avoid mild disagreement. He disagrees warmly. He holds his ground without aggression. He can say, "I see it differently," and mean it, and she can feel that he means it, and that security, the security of knowing that when he does agree with her, he actually agrees, is the foundation of real respect. He has limits. Not walls, not defense mechanisms dressed up as standards, but actual limits, rooted in self-respect. He doesn't pursue women who show him consistently that they're not interested, not because he's afraid of rejection. He's made peace with rejection, but because his time and his energy are things he values, and he allocates them with intention. He walks away from what doesn't serve him without drama, without punishment, without needing to make anyone wrong. He just walks away. And that quiet self-possession, that ability to leave without collapsing, is perhaps the most attractive thing about him. He doesn't need the validation of winning her over. He wants the experience of genuine connection. And if genuine connection is available, he's fully in. And if it isn't, he's genuinely fine. Not performing fine, not suppressing pain and calling it strength. Actually fine. Because his sense of himself doesn't rise and fall with her responses. His identity is grounded in something deeper than any single interaction could shake. That man is not a fantasy. That man is available to you. Right now. Today. Not after you lose the weight. Not after you get the promotion. Not after you fix every broken thing you think is wrong with you. That man exists at the intersection of self-awareness and self-respect, and the path to him isn't complicated, but it requires you to stop running from the discomfort of growth. Let me give you the actionable sequence now. Because clarity without direction is just poetry. Stop asking questions to fill silence. Full stop. The silence is not your enemy. The silence is a test, and every time you panic, fill it with a meaningless question. You fail the test. Sit in it. Own it. Let it be there. If she's comfortable in your presence, silence will feel intimate. If she's not yet comfortable, silence will create a kind of productive tension that a barrage of nervous questions never could. Stop asking questions you don't actually want the answer to. If you're not genuinely curious, don't ask. Inauthentic curiosity is transparent and it cheapens the interaction. When you do ask, when genuine curiosity arises, ask with the energy of someone who is interested in her specifically, not gathering data for a checklist. Redirect your energy from extraction to expression. Instead of thinking, "What can I ask her?" think, "What do I actually notice about this moment, about this person, about what she just said?" Then say that. Your honest observation, offered confidently, without apology, is worth 50 prepared questions. Start with statements, particularly with observations, particularly with interpretations that are specific to her, not generic compliments, not "you're beautiful," which she's heard 100 times and which costs you nothing, but specific observations that demonstrate that you actually see her. You seem like someone who gets exhausted by people who can't be direct. You look like you have an opinion about this that you've been waiting for an excuse to share. Specificity communicates attention. Attention communicates presence. Presence communicates value. Match energy, then lead it. When she's being playful, you can be playful. But when she's playful and you respond with a stiff, serious, effortful question, you kill the moment. Conversely, when she's being serious and you deflect with humor, you lose her trust. Match first. Then, once you're in rhythm together, lead the energy somewhere. That's how conversations build momentum. That's how a 10-minute exchange becomes an hour, becomes a plan to meet again, becomes something real. Use silence as punctuation. After you say something that lands, don't immediately fill the space. Let it breathe. Let it sit. Let her respond to it in her own time. Men who are nervous talk over the impact of their own good moments. They say something compelling and then immediately say something else that dilutes it. Say the thing, stop, let it land. The pause is confidence. The pause is, "I said it, I meant it, and I'm not rushing past it. Stop performing and start being. This is the most important one. All of this, the statements, the observations, the silence, the leading, all of it falls apart if it's technique without substance. If you're running a script, she'll feel it. Not immediately, maybe, but she'll feel it. The goal is not to get better at performing these things. The goal is to internalize them so deeply that they stop being tactics and start being you. The goal is to become the kind of man for whom this is the natural way he moves through the world. That takes time. It takes practice. It takes failing and adjusting, and failing again, and not giving up. But it is the only version of this work that actually holds. Now here is the thing I need you to sit with before we close out. Most of the men who struggle with this, and I mean the ones who are genuinely struggling, not the ones who just want to be told it's everyone else's fault. Most of those men are not lacking charisma. They're not lacking intelligence. They're not lacking the capacity for genuine, compelling human connection. They're lacking permission to take up space, permission to have an opinion that might not be universally loved, permission to lead without having been explicitly invited to, permission to be interesting without first confirming that the other person wants to be interested in them. And who took that permission away? Honestly? 100 small moments. A childhood where your boldness was corrected into compliance. A culture that told you being too much was a problem. A previous interaction or two, where you showed up fully and got rejected and decided quietly that the rejection was evidence about your worth rather than just evidence about a mismatch. You built a cage around your natural expressiveness and you call it humility, but it isn't humility. It's protection. And protection, when it's preventing you from showing up fully, is just fear with better branding. Reclaiming your voice in conversation isn't arrogance. It is not ego. It is not some alpha posturing fantasy designed to manipulate people. It is the simplest, most fundamental form of self-respect you can practice, showing up as yourself, without apology, and trusting that who you are is enough. Not for everyone. You will not be for everyone. But for the right person, for the right connection, you showing up fully, presence and all, is the only thing that was ever going to work. You are not too much. You are not too intense. You are not too direct. You have been operating at about 40% of your natural capacity because you were taught that 40% was safer, and maybe it was. But safe never built anything worth having. You are the answer, not the perfect version of you that exists after 10 more years of self-improvement. The version of you that's sitting here right now, listening to this, aware enough to recognize the pattern and committed enough to change it. That version, the one who's already moving, even if moving feels uncertain, the one who's building something real, even when it's messy. Stop waiting for permission to be compelling. Stop waiting for her to signal that it's safe to be interesting. Walk into the next conversation the way this man I described walks into rooms, not like someone looking for something, but like someone who brought something. Bring your observations, bring your confidence in silence, bring your genuine curiosity that doesn't need her to answer the way you hoped. Bring yourself, all of it, without the apology. That's the work, that's the shift. And when you make it, not perfectly, not overnight, but genuinely, progressively, consistently, you won't be asking how to talk to women anymore. Because you'll realize that what she was always responding to was never your words. It was always you. If this hit you somewhere real, if some part of this cut through something you've been carrying around for a while, subscribe, not because I need the numbers, because you need the reminders. Because the world is going to spend the next 24 hours trying to talk you back into the comfortable version of yourself. Come back here when it does. This is the place that's going to keep telling you the truth, even when it's harder to hear than a flattering lie. And if you know someone who needs this, a brother, a friend, someone you care about who's stuck in this loop, send it to them. We're building something here. A community of men who are done with the comfortable smallness and ready to operate from clarity, from strength, from genuine self-possession. You belong here. Now let's get to work.